What's going on? Alex here and Christian. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can find a traditional wife. So, as you can see for yourself, we see a movement of guys falling for red pill, how to manipulate women, which in reality is witchcraft. Manipulation is witchcraft, but that's a topic for another day. And remember, in the Bible, it does mention in the last days, people will fall for doctrines of devils. Christian and I use the Bible and we study the Bible just like it is said in 2 Timothy 2:15. Study thyself approved unto God, workman not needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. And we can clearly see using discernment that men are falling for the red pill doctrine, which is teaching men how to take advantage of women. They want to have this traditional wife, yet they're very lustful. They're taking part in the 7 deadly sins, so on and so forth. So in this video, especially Christian, because he's the relationship guy, he's the expert in that area, he's going to cover how you can find a traditional wife. So,
Right, guys, as you heard from the introduction, this is what we're going to break down today. Now, before I break down which areas you can frequent or what is the best way to find a traditional woman, you must first know what to look for. Obviously, today we're not going to get into red flags or the women you should avoid. We're going to go through the positive traits, the qualities, characteristics, and attributes that make her worthy if you're considering her to be a wife. So, first of all, let's look at the Bible. Proverbs 10 through 31 gives us a God-ordained example of how a wife should be. And we're going to start and I'm going to read through it. A wife of noble character who can find? She's worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Just keep in mind that piece throughout the entire video. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She's like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it's still night, and she provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. Back in the day, people had large families, people in the community would work. Servant was the old English word for housekeeper, a worker. She considered a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for they are all clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She's clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sachets. She's clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, and her husband also and praises her, saying, many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. So this is how God describes a woman that is a wife will treat her husband and her children. Interesting that even as a man, you will gain more respect amongst your peers because the quality of woman you choose is a reflection of your standards. Now, as Alex mentioned, 3 pillars of masculinity: health, wealth, and relationships. Now, what is the point of having high testosterone or having a successful business that brings in 6, 7 figures if you come home to a woman that doesn't love you and children that don't respect you? There are many men like that today. They don't know how to lead their families, nor protect them, nor provide for them. Not to mention, you can be a righteous man. You can be as traditional as you want. But if you involve yourself with a woman who's godless, who's immoral, it's not going to happen. It takes 2. So again, before we get into what where to find a traditional woman, let's go through the characteristics that make a woman a wife material. Just adjusting my chair here. So now there are 11 qualities. Now, what is wife material? Now, again, I'm going to read this from my book. So this is where it's from. Remember, beauty fades, but character stays. Who she is on the inside is what you're actually dating. And you need to consider your life. What is it going to look like day in, day out, Monday to Friday, when you interact with her, when you sit with your kids, when you finish your work? Does she bring you peace? Does she bring you misery? Do you trust her? Are you uncertain? All of these things will affect your mental health, your happiness. It's going to affect your life's work and even the way your children are raised. So you need to be very selective. A lot of guys lower their standards because they make a choice based upon lust, or they simply settle because it's the first woman that throws themselves his way. But again, this is someone you're giving your seed to, who's going to produce children for you. So you need to be very, very precise. You can be picky and marry, right? Or you can pay the price and look back at your life with shame and regret. We see a lot of families today that are broken, that are split. Remember, the man is the head of the home, but the woman is the heart of the home. You can lead all you want, but if that heart is empty, it's going to be a lot of blood. So even though a woman's physical appearance is great, you want a woman that you find attractive. Remember, it is her chaste, her modest, her virtuous character, which is ultimately what's going to win you over. A woman who's truly feminine and follows after God's will, that's what's going to win you over as a man. So these are 11 characteristics to look for in a wife. Number one, she has maturity and self-control. She doesn't put herself in situations where she would potentially degrade her femininity, health, or values. She abstains from drugs, alcohol, smoking, and other damaging vices. Remember, Proverbs 18:22, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord. You know why it says find? Because those traits are either present at the beginning or not. If a woman meets you and she says he's husband material, 3 months later, if that is true, you're going to be consistent with who you said you were at the beginning. And it will be the same way for her if she truly is who she presents herself to be. This is why you must court. You must assess compatibility and character to see if you are aligned in terms of your values so that you can create a foundation for marriage. But one of the first things you should look for is from the outside. Is she modest? Look at her appearance. The Bible says that an immodest woman is like a gold ring in a pig's snout. Intelligent women that respect themselves do not flaunt themselves online. They don't require excessive attention or validation. Remember, damaged women seek attention and validation, whereas secure women who are happy, who have God, they only want a man's presence. It's a massive difference. So that's the first thing you want to look at. Is she mature? Does she have self-control? Remember, temperance, the old English word for self-control, is one of the fruits of the Spirit, not only of a righteous man, but of a righteous woman. Somebody who follows after God's heart is going to have self-control. They have mastery over their flesh. They know not to indulge in things that are bad for them. She stays away from dangerous situations. She's a woman. She's going to be physically smaller than a man. She must protect herself from bad men. She does not involve herself with immoral women. Very important. Is she mature and does she have self-control? You can assess that very easily. Number two, sex is sacred to her, meaning through the fruits of her actions and her history, she's either going to be virgin or at the very least have a very low body count. Now, she's virgin because she wants to give herself to her husband in marriage. And she's saving herself for the right man. There's a big difference. Some of you young guys may come across a woman, let's say you're watching this and you're 18, and you meet a girl who's also 18. She may be a virgin just because she had a strict family. She doesn't actually believe in that. And now she's using that as her advantage to try and get herself a guy to give her some attention. But she doesn't actually believe in sex as something intimate. So you still want to ask, how important is this to you? Do you value it? Okay? Especially for you young guys, I've seen it happen a lot. Be very careful. But again, you want to ask. Sex is sacred to you, and sex is sacred to her as it should be for you. And you want to make sure that she says anything of the following. She makes it very clear to you that she has no intention of hookups, casual sex or one-night stands. She openly tells you that she has not had and has never engaged in such acts before. In the event where she has had sex in the past, it was in the context of a relationship with an ex. She was young. It happened once. It happened twice. That's young people when they're lost, they make that mistake. They're lukewarm. It can happen once or twice. But in the context of an ex she had a relationship with, who she loved, and at the time figured she was going to spend her life with him. Okay? There's a big difference between a woman who she had sex a couple of times, but it's hookups, versus a girl who she was in a relationship, she was young. Okay? And since then, what you would have seen is that she's taken the time to heal, to remain single, and moved on. So all in all, she's proven to you that she's chaste and that she values her purity. This is extremely important. And what you're going to see as I go through the rest of the characteristics is you can't have one without the other. They will all match, all 11 of them. Remember, maturity and self-control, sex is very sacred to her. When you ask her about these things, she will gladly tell you, yep, you know what, I'm waiting for marriage, or I had one ex in the past, this is exactly what happened to him, since then I'm chaste. She will openly tell you. If you ask and she's embarrassed, says it's none of your business, I don't need to tell you, or I don't remember, you have your answer. Remember, if you have a clean track record, you have no problem people coming and checking it. Of course not. And if you're going to spend your life with someone, you have the right to ask these things. What if she were to give you an STD? So that's the second thing. Now, the third trait, she's traditional and family oriented. Now, remember, traditional values come from faith. A lot of people like to play trad. A lot of women like to dress up, the old fashioned, the vintage look, because they don't like the modern world, but they still don't turn to God. So they want the benefits of traditionalism without actually being traditional. This is when vetting the character comes in. She makes it very clear to you she detests feminism and doesn't want to be a career-oriented woman. You know, there's a culture now of this boss babe, encouraging women to be masculine, right? That I don't need a man. And this is completely opposite to scripture. And look at women who leave that life. Give them 20, 30, 40 years. Older women who wasted their fertility, their youth, chasing a career instead of finding a good man and having children. A lot of them deeply regret it and develop a lot of mental issues later on in life. So you want a woman that's traditional and family oriented. Now, the best way to see this, she has made herself ready for motherhood and wifehood. What does this mean? She's prepared herself. The same way as a man, you should, if you haven't yet, get started. Learn what it takes to be a father and a husband. Learn about leadership, protection, and provision, the role of the man. Now, for a woman who's making herself or has made herself ready to be a wife, she knows about nurturing, caring, how to tend a home. She learns about children. She knows how to respect a man. She knows how to cook and clean and decorate. She knows about sanitation and ministering at home. Okay, she follows her God-given role and she appreciates it and values it deeply. If you meet a woman and she tells you that the thought of cooking for her man is offensive, she doesn't want to have children, she wants to do her own thing and she doesn't know what she's looking for, she's not traditional. If I give you 100,000 euros to go buy yourself a nice sports car, would you buy the first car? Of course not. You want to check everything, the price, the mileage, the insurance, give it a test run. You need to know, is it really suitable for you? Okay. The same way, a woman like this, she's going to know exactly what she wants in a man because she herself understands femininity. She knows what it truly means to be a woman biblically. So you need to not only hear the words, look through her actions, that she's truly traditional, that she's prepared to be a wife and a mother. And she should show you throughout the relationship, finding ways to add value to your life, which we're going to get into. Now, a woman like this is going to make it very clear and state to you that she wants to be a housewife. She wants to be a mother. She wants to have children, that is her priority. If you hear that, that is a very good sign. Again, some women will say that because it's a way out of the life. So remember, if she appreciates you, respects you, admires you, she's with you for you, this will come out more. Okay, it will be genuine because she does see you as a righteous man that she can give herself to. So this is a solid indicator that she's emotionally stable and that her values are in sync with femininity and God's principles. Very important. Number 4, she either grew up with a masculine father figure or role model, or at the very least has overcome any challenges or adversity that came with growing up in a broken home. Remember, God's blueprint is Christ, father, mother, husband, wife, and then children. Every family, every cycle should follow that path. When families are broken, you have an immoral man who doesn't lead properly, or the mother's at fault, she's immoral, or they both are. The children suffer deeply, and they need to do 10x work to get themselves right with God and God's blueprint for their life before they're ready to get into a relationship. Genesis 2:24, for this reason a man shall grow old, leave his mother and father, cleave to his wife, and become one flesh. The whole purpose of growing older as a man, that you find a godly woman, you start a family, be fruitful and multiply. That's where God knows you'll find happiness, hard work to help create families. This is what we were put on this earth to do, other than sharing the gospel. That's the only taste of goodness you'll ever get on here. You know, it says later in Timothy in the Bible, you should desire to have a peaceful life. You can't have that sleeping around, hooking up with multiple women, destroying yourself. Okay. So when you're looking at her upbringing, pay attention. If she had any trauma that came with having an abusive, absent, or weak father, because if she didn't learn how to trust, respect him, how could she do it for you? That's going to give her a blueprint and she will emulate that. So if she makes it clear to you, you know what, my father turned out to be this way. I didn't have a good image of what to look for in a man. Since then, I've educated myself. I picked up a Bible. I was spent time around good women. That made me trust in good men. I learned to distinguish between men of moral character and men that are lustful, men that are bad. And I know exactly what to look for in a man and how to treat a man. That is a good sign. Again, if you ask her, similar to with her purity, how many guys have you been with? What's your relationship like with mum and dad? And you hear anything such as, I hate my father. I want nothing to do with him. It's none of your business. I don't want to talk about it. It's a bad sign. But if she can talk about it freely, there's no regret. She's not repressing any emotion. And she will gladly tell you, yeah, you know what? It wasn't too bad. It was horrible with him, but you know what? I'm okay now. Recently, I made a video on my YouTube channel titled Monkey Branching and Immoral Men. Very lovely Brazilian lady. She grew up with a very abusive father. He would beat her. He'd blame her for everything. And she had a very bad image of men. But she overcame that. She got right with God. And she knows exactly what she wants in a man now. So women can overcome that. You want to pay attention. Ask quality questions. Because you want a woman that's able to trust and respect you and communicate healthily. You want a woman that's grateful for you being an actual man. Because some women today, we see a lot of feminists, a lot of girls who are lost, unfortunately, and they're very masculine, okay? The roles are flipped. If they were to see a traditional man, those demons inside of them are going to be repelled because they're not comfortable being a woman. They don't know how to be around a man at peace with ease. So you want a good woman that appreciates you as a man, and it starts with that. Did she either have a good family, or at the very least, has she overcome that and recovered from that? Number 5, she's faithful. Now, this goes beyond her being faithful to God. She should love God first, an authentic woman of faith, but this means that her words and actions match consistently. Now, God is loyal. Does God lie to us? Does God let us down? Does God deceive us? Does he leave us hanging? Of course not. What God says is true, and he follows through. So a righteous woman, same way, if you're listening, I'm hoping you're a righteous man, you're going to follow things through. Your word is your bond. But guess what, guys? This is the same thing for women. She's faithful. Her words and actions match consistently. You don't doubt her. She doesn't allow strangers or other men to get close to her. She's truthful and honest about everything that she does. This translates to her being reliable and trustworthy. So as time goes on, you actually grow to trust her fully. So remember, if the words and actions match and it's consistent over time, you're most likely dealing with a woman that is truly faithful, which is another requisite. So as you can see, we've covered 5 characteristics thus far, and they all matter. You can't have one without the other. Number 6, halfway through now. This is very important. One thing to look at is the company you keep. 15:33, Corinthians. Bad company corrupts good morals. And if that's true, then so is the opposite. Good company will uphold good morals. When you hang around the right people, even for men in business and friendships, you can help each other grow. You can sharpen each other. But guess what? Women require the same thing. In Titus 2, verse 5, 3 through 5, Paul gives instructions that older women should teach younger women to be sober, to be chaste, to love their children, love their husbands. Okay? So number 6 is that she makes fellowship with other traditional women, which encourage her to be godly, feminine, and pursue righteousness. She cuts off feminists, promiscuous women, or other girls that are a bad influence because she is wise and knows that a true lady does not mingle with harlots. A good woman is a reflection of her friends. Think about it. If you don't consume any drugs, if you don't live a fast life where you sleep around or based on pleasure, you're not hanging out at the nightclubs. You don't go to the bars. You don't hook up. You abstain from that lifestyle. And it's the same way for a woman. If all of her friends are good women, where they're involved in their community, they cook, they clean, they want a good man, they all go to church together, they sing, they do whatever, but they're just normal women. They don't date bad men. They avoid those things. They have a track record where they're very genuine, very ladylike. That's a good sign because that lets you know who is influencing her. Remember, when you spend time around someone or something, you build an emotional bond. So if she's spending time around good, godly women, this is also going to pour into her cup. Very important. Do not deny this. Okay? When you first meet a woman, ask about the quality of friend she keeps. It'll give you a lot of insight into who she is and save you unnecessary heartache. Number 7, she's modest and humble. Similar to how I mentioned earlier at the beginning, number 1, modesty and self-control. Modesty and humility. What does this mean? Now, this is more the character of the heart, which is what you want to see. She's soft, kind-hearted, tender, and sweet in all of your interactions. She doesn't compare or compete with you. Instead, she compliments and honors you. After all, a woman who's truly feminine understands she was put on this earth to be a man's helpmate. And remember, God is a matchmaker. The reason why a lot of guys can't find a woman that's going to follow their lead, be with them, is because most guys don't even have a program that they're following. You don't even know where you're heading as a man. So how can you expect a woman to hop on the sidecar and come with you? It starts with you as a man. Because if you are not righteous, if you're not traditional, forget it. A woman like this, when she meets a guy like you, she's going to be doing the same thing. Is he this? If he doesn't fit this criteria, she's out the door because she has high standards that come from having high morals. Okay? So what you'll notice is a good woman, she'll compliment you. She will honor you. Okay? She doesn't show off. She's not prideful. She does not require attention nor validation from strangers. Okay? She shows true modesty from the way she clothes herself from the outside all the way to how she behaves with you. Okay? Her modesty is a clear sign that she respects God, you, and herself. But more importantly, the way she communicates with you, the way she behaves around you. Okay? She's humble. A lot of people in today's generation are prideful. Social media has turned a lot of men and women that are young into very narcissistic monsters, unfortunately. Selfish, self-entitled, me. Timothy talks about this in the end times, that there will come a time when people are like that, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. And you want to avoid women like that. Is she humble? That is also one of the fruits of the Spirit, humility, right? Number 8, she's supportive of your life's work. This is something that me and Alex can attest to as people who have businesses. This is what you need as a man. She looks for ways to assist you in your career or business. Now, remember, as men, what do we require from women? Respect and admiration. What do women require? Praise and affection. Has the same effect. So when you're a man and you're working, building your business or your career and you're working hard, you need a woman that's going to be your helpmate. She's a suitable match for you. So she's proud of who you are. She admires the passion you have for your purpose as a man. She makes it her duty to help you grow. Where can she assist you? If you start a business, she will cheer you on and encourage you when no one else does. When you reach a new milestone in your career, she celebrates with you. The important thing to keep in mind here is that you will notice that she's actually fascinated by you. She genuinely admires you. Why would you commit yourself to a woman that isn't proud of what you do? She doesn't want to tell her girlfriends, this is my man. This is what he's done. Think about it. If she's not proud of you, what's going to happen when you have children? She's not going to sit there and tell your kids when you're not there good things about the father, is she?
I want to add something. When I was visiting my granny, so her sister, I was staying over at her house, and she was saying, because her husband died, but all the conversation, she was always talking back about her husband, how amazing he was, like he was her, like, and that was just amazing. And I was like, at the time, this was about 2 years ago, I used to start questioning, because I used to be into Red Pill and study it a lot, but then seeing that, it kind of opened up my eyes. That's what you want. Used to become one flesh. So yeah.
Exactly, because as a woman, she should be bringing you peace. What does it say in Proverbs 31, 10 through 12 at the beginning? She does good to her man, not harm all the days of her life. Think about that. If she's a good woman, the good starts when she first meets you. Hey, I baked you a cake. Hey, let me make your favorite food. Hey, can I help you in your business? Is there any way I can assist you? A good woman, she will work around your schedule. Because remember, femininity is relationship oriented and focused. When women find a man and they build a bond with him, they build that nest egg. They want to nurture him. They want to grow closer and closer to you. That's what, because remember, women are the ones that fill the houses with all the decorations, all the beauty, they adorn things. Guys, we're minimalistic. We don't really care about those things. Give us a mattress on the floor, we're fine. Okay. Women, they beautify everything. They magnify those things. Okay. We make things very simple and minimalistic. Women don't. So again, when she respects and loves you, she's going to be supportive of what you do as a man. And this is crucial because more than likely, if as a man, your career or business matters to you, it's going to be in sync with your values. So if she isn't proud of what you do, there's an obvious sign that you're incompatible. Number 9, getting to the end now. She's a good communicator and makes a consistent effort to let you know about her needs, wants, and what she expects from you. She's consistent in displaying her affection for you. She communicates effectively and clearly. When she's upset or angry at you, she makes it relatively easy for you to open her up. Remember, a lot of guys hear this stereotype. A lot of women like to cause drama. Women who grew up in dysfunctional homes that were used to throwing tantrums to get their needs met, they'll throw tantrums because the dad was a weak, spineless man who would run around the clock and treat her like a little princess. So now she learns, my father listened, now this man's going to listen too. But a woman who's learned how to treat a man, she's more sensitive, she's really developed her femininity. Even though she's emotional, it just means she feels it or she feels deeply. There may be moments where she does have her moment, of course. Generally speaking, if she respects you, she's going to be a good communicator. She's going to be aware, even in moments where she's upset at you, I probably shouldn't call them a nasty name. I probably shouldn't overstep and treat them with disrespect because she can be upset at you and communicate. As the Bible says, a soft answer turns away anger. So if she's upset with you, she's still going to be soft with you. Why did you do this? Please do that for me. Whatever. You may notice she's a little bit closed off, and then you open her up emotionally, you sit down, you talk to her, you're present with her, you engage with her, make her feel heard and understood, and things get resolved. But what you'll notice is when she's upset, a good woman will hold you accountable without emasculating you. Remember, Proverbs 31, 10 through 12, she does good to you all the days of her life and no harm. Even in communication, a lot of guys don't consider that. Think about it. If you're upset with God, if you could sit down and God appeared right in front of you and you're upset at something in your life, would you speak to God disrespectfully? No, you talk very respectfully, wouldn't you? Because you love him. It's the same thing with a woman. If you really love her, you're really going to speak to her that way. And if the answer is yes, then you maybe have some anger issues that you need to sort out. Because trust, respect, and love, they all go together. You can't have one without the other. You can't say you respect someone if you don't trust them. You can't say you trust them if you don't respect them. You need them both. If not, love can't blossom. So a good woman, she'll call you out on your bullshit because women have very good awareness, okay, emotionally speaking, and they can pinpoint things that as a man you can't focus on because their brains are wired differently. So she may say something to assist you or help you or guide you because she wants the best for you. She wants you to be a better man. And some guys will get offended at that. But if she needs to call you out, she will do it without emasculating you, right? So there's no name calling, there are no insults, there's no threats or ultimatums. She is a solid communicator. And this is a good sign that she intends to demonstrate healthy communication. And if it's good at the beginning, usually gonna sail good throughout the rest of your life with her. Remember, how it starts is usually how it ends. If it starts bad, it ends bad. If it starts good, it ends good. Whenever God started something, he started it well and he finished well. It's the same thing with your business. If it's founded upon righteousness, it's going to stand through the sands of time. It ain't falling because it's sustained by God's principles. It's the same thing with a relationship. If you are a godly man, she's a godly woman, you both know how to communicate healthily, you're going to have a very effective relationship. Your needs are going to be met mutually, meaning there's more intimacy, more closeness, even more respect is built because you can talk about everything. There's an open dialogue, very essential. So observe how your woman speaks to you. Is she willing to improve? That's another good sign, okay? Number 10, she's caring, giving, and submissive. She finds joy in serving, assisting, and pleasing you. It could be anything. Maybe cooking your favorite meal, when you go to the gym, whatever. She keeps the home clean, she runs errands. But she does all of these things because she loves and respects you. She is cheerful and always happy to be there for you, and she devotes herself to you. She makes a daily effort to satisfy your needs, which is key. Remember, does good to you all the days of her life. If as a man, and your role is to lead your woman, protect, and provide for her, you don't just do that when you feel like. You have to do that every day. When you have children, you have to show up every day because then it's not about you, it's about the other person. And if she as a woman understands how to respect you, guess what? She's going to show up daily and make that effort. It's going to be the same, consistent through and through, because that's what genuine people do. And finally, she remains present in your life through rough patches. So whether you fall sick, she tends to your health. When you deal with financial problems, she remains faithful to you. When you are amid turmoil, she's always by your side. You go on your business, she sticks with you. Even if you display weakness a few times, she will stay through it all because she knows that deep down you're strong and you'll get back up and lead her no matter how many times you fall. So remember, you want a woman that has these 11 traits. There's really nothing more. I mean, I could sit here and do a 10-hour video going even deeper, millions of examples with each one, but then we'd be wasting time. I may go deeper when I do my course, which is in the process. But those 11 traits, now that I've finished, looking back, you can understand. You can't have one without the other. If you take one of those out, you don't have a woman that you can marry. And remember, those characteristics will be evident from day one, and they will follow through until the day she dies. Because you are courting, you are marrying this, not just this. This is great to get you interested physically. It's like a thumbnail. You click on it, but if the video is shit, you're not gonna watch it. And if you're watching these videos because of the content of what we're speaking. So the woman you allow into your life is ultimately a reflection of your standards. When I see guys that are very successful, very confident, whatever, and you see the women they get involved with, very promiscuous women, women that don't respect them, it tells me everything about that man. Then it makes me wonder about his business. It makes me wonder about what is he being healthy for? What does he exercise? Why does he take care of himself? What's the point of having a successful business if you don't have a family to take care of or nurture or love? So now that we've covered the 11 traits of what to look for in a woman, now you know the theory, you got to put it into practice. So where do you actually go to meet traditional women? See, when you look at the modern world, a lot of guys will get quite upset. You often hear, bro, I can't find good women anymore. Guys talking about flying out to Eastern Europe or going to Asia to get a woman there because they're more traditional, when a lot of those girls are going to come over because they want to be in the West. So you also have to use discernment. And I think that's quite pathetic. Quite frankly, you can find a traditional woman as long as you yourself are a traditional man. So when it comes to courtship, you need to make two choices in your life. If you are ready for marriage, if you're ready to find a wife, you can start searching. If you're not, or you're uncertain, or there are things that are still missing, whether it's building up your health, building up your wealth, or there are a few principles in relationships that you're lacking, do not abstain, remain chaste, and fill in your knowledge gap and prepare. But if you're watching and you are ready, and you're ready to meet a traditional woman, there's really a few ways you can go about this. First of all, I'm going to say this. If you sit there in your room and you never go out, you never interact with anyone, and you expect that a woman's going to fall out of the sky, you're deluding yourself. As Jim Rohn said, you're not a tree, you have to move. You have to take action. David could pray all he wanted, but ultimately he killed Goliath when he took action, because God works through people. Oftentimes when you have a desire or a motive to do something, if it's aligned with God's principles, it's usually coming from the Lord himself. Because remember, he works through us. So the first thing I would suggest is be active in your community. Go to charity events, dog shelter, town fair, a farmer's market, a coffee shop, a bookstore. It goes without saying, you're not going to find a traditional woman at a club, at a bar. It's like a traditional guy. You're not out doing those things. You might be out during the day in a moment where you go to the shop, or it's going to be rare. Okay, same thing for those women. They go home early at night, they're reading their Bible, they're with their family, whatever happens to be. They protect their worth. They're not out there doing things that they shouldn't. So I have a few questions for you. A lot of guys say, well, where do you meet a traditional woman? Well, my question to you are, what activities do family-oriented people do in your neighborhood or your area? Where do good, solid, traditional people meet? So church is an obvious one, which we'll get into. But number one is to be active in your community. As I mentioned, you want to frequent places like that. Think about it. You think a girl who's only cares about herself and she likes partying and drinking, do you think she's going to go and offer service at a charity event? You think she's going to be at the dog shelter? Do you think she's going to want to learn something new and go to the bookstore or go to the grocery store or work at the coffee shop? Of course not. So remember, those traits that a woman has that make her nurturing, she will, if she's single, she will put that to work in her life with those around her. Okay. Number two, network with people who have the same faith and values as you. This is common sense. If you hang around friends, family, business associates, people that are traditionally minded like you, that are godly, that are Christian, they can usually bring forth more connections into your life. It could be a family's friend's sister, or you just happen to know someone through your business, through your career. That can actually happen. But again, faith and same values, whether it's online, in person, you can join seminars, okay, groups, local events that are happening in your area, overseas events, okay? That's a great way to meet people through networking. So you can definitely meet a woman who's traditional because she's thinking the same thing, okay? Number three is obviously church. Now, a lot of this is a numbers game. The key is looking in the right places. As I mentioned earlier, you don't go clubbing, you don't go partying, you don't want to do that. But definitely going to church where, even though there's a few wolf in sheep's clothing, a woman who's modest, who's virtuous, and she dedicates herself to God, she's going to be going to Bible study meetings, whether it's at a church or it's some type of similar event, your local church. Okay? That is probably the best way, ideally, to meet such women. Number four, I don't particularly recommend this, but a lot of guys ask me this. If you are somebody who wants to try online dating, which may not be the best thing, in some cases, if you make a very specific profile with exactly what you're looking for and who you are as a man, you can already filter through the women that are wasting your time. Because there are women who are just like you, who sit there, they don't go out, they don't meet anyone, and they ask themselves, where am I going to meet a man like this? And they think, I'll put myself out there just in case. And it might be you. So you can try that if you want. Okay. And finally, the fifth way you can meet a traditional woman is you have to wait on God. God is a matchmaker, and God's delays are not God's denials. Oftentimes, you like to say, I'm ready, I'm ready. Well, if God really wanted you to have that, it would happen. Don't rush things, don't make choices based on lust. Don't lower your standards and equally yoke yourself to a woman who's not of the same faith as you. Okay? Be patient, but put yourself out there. Go out more, mingle, be in your community, network with like-minded people, go to church. And simply by doing those things in the right places, you will increase the odds of finding such a woman. But again, if you yourself are not the right man, if you haven't prepared, and if you don't know what to look for to avoid, even if you come across such a woman, you won't even know how to interact with her or keep her in your life. So again, it all comes back to you. And if you are looking, I would recommend doing those things. And if you're not looking and you're not ready, close yourself off, remain chaste, keep your faith in God, fill in your knowledge gap, and prepare. That's what I have to say.
Amen, amen. But remember,
That, Alex?
if you want to find a traditional wife, why would God curse her with you? You need to become the man that she's looking for, because she obviously is looking for a biblical masculine individual. So if you're not a biblical, you're sleeping around, you're lazy, whatever, you don't have the three pillars of masculinity taken care of, like your health, wealth, and relationships. You have low testosterone, you're overweight, you're not making any money for yourself, you don't have any friends, you have issues with communication, things like that. Why would God curse her with you? So you need to really set your foundations right. Become the man that she's looking for. And that's my answer to that. Because you see a lot of guys out there that want that traditional wife, that virgin, you could say, but yet they're lustful, they're fapping all the time, they're degenerate, they're watching all these red pill influencers. Just think about it. Why would God curse her with you? Just like the way, if you're a righteous man, why would God curse you with a promiscuous woman? So you really need to, and if you were a righteous man and you came across a promiscuous woman, you know how to get rid of her because you know she's not the right for you. So you really need to understand, study, read Christian's book. I'm going to leave a link down below. And another thing, we want to make an announcement that we're starting Discord, which you can join. We're going to leave a link down below. It's completely free. It's just for discussions if you want to ask us questions in regards to health, wealth, relationships, biblical manhood, things like that. You want to discuss overall biblical masculinity, just like it is mentioned in 2 Timothy 2:15, to study thyself approved unto God, dividing the Bible, so on and so forth. Want to add anything?
Yeah, so in the Discord, we basically have two rooms. We have a chat room, so you can all talk, whatever, send content, ask questions, share things, interact, really. And then we have the collaboration room where people can go on calls and talk things through in a deeper level, which sometimes we may record, we may even make content out of that as well. And of course, if you have any friends or anybody else who's interested, feel free to share it to them as well. And yeah, just remember with the things we've covered today, it starts with you. You know, you can't, as Alex said, God's not going to curse a godly woman with a man who's out there giving his body to 20, 30, 40, 50 women. And then he thinks, oh, yeah, I guess I'll stop doing that now and I'm going to get a pure bride. It's not happening.
Yeah.
You're spitting in the face of God's creation and the way he made order.
And let's say you are righteous, you could say, you're following the Bible. God could send a promiscuous woman your way to test you. Because if you're still lustful, because God knows your heart, he really knows your heart. Even though you may think you're ready, are you really ready? And God is going to send to see your true character. And if you fall for it, you obviously weren't ready because you felt for your lust. You seen the red flags, but yet you went with it because you were lustful and you disobeyed God. Because God makes it really clear of whom you should find. So yeah.
Exactly.
So that was Christian and I on how you can find a traditional biblical woman. Don't fall for the doctrines of devils that you see going around these days. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Peace.